All right, so it has been the message of feminism. I'm going to say probably since the 60s, but probably earlier, probably since its inception. But I'll say predominantly since the 60s, and especially definitely in the 80s, 90s, and beyond, where the message of feminism is men don't express their emotions. Men are they bottle them up inside, but they need to really let their feelings out. And that's the only way that they can become truly actualized human beings. But again, I think this is um, it's a representation of a fundamental misunderstanding of women about what men are and how men operate. Now, this is something that throughout history women have understood, and mothers have passed it down to their daughters, and grandmothers have passed it down to their granddaughters, and all this wisdom of the ages stuff, which frankly I think we are losing in spades. Everybody now is so interested in um, deconstructing stuff and in working with, oh, we've got to have everything the same, and we need equality, and we need the whole structure of society to be shaken up and you know reformatted. But we don't, because human nature is human nature. Now, people have said when I was in high school, men need to get in touch with their feelings. They need to learn how to cry. But that's not true, because in fact, many studies have shown that when you have groups of boys who deal with a situation, and what they're sort of told to do is to sit in a group and talk about their feelings, they actually find that they feel as though nothing is getting accomplished. They feel that this is just a waste of time. And that is part of the nature of the beast of men. And I believe it's biological. I believe it's genetic. It's encoded because we are animals. We are products of our genetics. Not entirely. There's obviously other factors that come into play as far as nature and nurture, and everything kind of works together to create a person. But is a basic underlying blueprint that's there from the genetics. And men are genetically predisposed to display emotions differently than women. And women used to know that. And that's why women would, the wife would be having troubles with her husband. And the mom or the grandmother or the aunt, somebody would say, look, just give him space. He just needs to have some time alone. He just needs to go and hang out with the boys for a while. And this is why, in my opinion, there were, men's clubs, there were men's organizations, not to keep women out, but to allow men to spend time with men, because they're two very different things. And men would go and hang out with men, and it's kind of like when you'd go over and you'd work on the engine with with your dad or with a buddy or something. And while you're working on the engine, you talk about your problem. You don't sit there and you don't ruminate, and you don't break down and cry, and you don't have some cheesecake and then sob into a pillow. But you do something. You get active, you do something, and you just kind of freaking gab about it a little bit, and you work through it. Now, the idea that men don't didn't have feelings and didn't get in touch with their feelings. We're going to take a look at a couple things here. So this one here, we're going to bring it to the end. Okay. So this is back from 1952, back when men were men, right? And this is a World Series. So we're going to look here at the final sort of game. And I don't know what timestamp it is. Here we go. We're going to mute this because I don't know if I'm going to get called on it. So basically, these guys are playing a game, right? This is the World Series, big game. It's coming up to the end, right? So we're going to see here this guy takes a swing, he doesn't take a swing. We're going to advance, I don't know what the exact timestamp is. And this whole thing is like 2 hours and 50 some minutes anyway, right? So trying to go a few seconds at a time is almost impossible. There we go. He gives it a big hit. It goes flying up, but look, this guy comes over. I got it. Boom, he catches it. Here they are. Look at them jumping. They're freaking giving each other piggyback rides. They're patting each other on the head. They're screaming and whooping and hollering. Yeehaw, we just won the World Series, okay? These men are clearly showing their emotions. They're clearly in touch with their emotions. So, what feminists generally mean, and nowadays it's the majority of society, what they mean is they don't get in touch with their negative emotions. They don't feel bad and show their tears, okay? But if we look and we watch these guys, yeah, woohoo, right? Great job. Now we come over here and we see these guys. We can tell these guys are upset. These guys are probably fairly bummed out and depressed about this. And they don't linger on it. They go back to the joy of victory, okay? Likewise, we come here to a great program, actually, as far as I'm concerned, and it's the NFL's The Missing Rings, okay? So they do this for all the teams that kind of lost Super Bowls, and they talk about the seasons and what went on, and they have interviews with former players and stuff. So we're just going to listen to a quick bit, and I hope I don't get flagged for this. So we'll find out here, right? But I'm using it for commentary, so I believe it's fair.
As our champion. You agonize after the game, and could you have done? What did you do? What you didn't do? You agonize, you replay it.
There you go. This guy's made like 2 sentences, and he's used the word agonize twice. You agonize over it. But then we're going to hear something else.
You look at it, and then you put it aside.
There you go. Then you put it aside. You agonize, you deal with it, you say, what could I do differently? And then you put it aside. It's not that they're not dealing with it, it's that they have dealt with it. That's how they've dealt with it. And we'll find out something else here.
To a man, nobody cried. Nobody made excuses.
There we go. To a man, nobody cried, nobody made excuses. But they agonized. They agonized over the loss. Nobody cried. They asked, what could we have done differently? Then once they've processed it, they put it to the side. That's how men deal with things. It's not that men aren't in touch with their feelings. They're very much in touch. These guys know exactly what they felt. And they felt with it and they dealt with it. And they've dealt with it for years. And in a lot of these interviews, you can see that, here it is. This is 1969. This is 50 years ago. Okay. And these guys still feel that pain. They still have it because they lost out on their chance to effectively be immortalized for what they were doing. So when I see stuff like this, and then I see people saying men need to get in touch with their emotions, men need to learn how to feel appropriately because they have to bottle everything up because of societal constructs and that. No. It's not societal constructs that make men bottle things up. It's that men don't they don't cry. They don't have these effusive displays of emotion. They keep it inside, which is why very often when it comes to depression, people don't recognize depression in men because they don't start crying. They're not bawling. They're not visibly affected by it the same way women are. They just basically they either get angry or they shut up and withdraw. And then people go, why are they being so withdrawn lately? Why aren't they, why aren't they going out and cheering for the kids at the soccer game anymore? Rather than, something must be seriously wrong with this person to do it, because there's a lack of recognition for how men relate to each other. And we see this as well. I was taking university courses recently, and in many of them, you would get these old texts, and old, I mean by, sort of 1800s, things like that. And there would be descriptions of 2 men as friends. And nowadays, everybody's like, see, this is homoerotic subtext, because these men would be described in very endearing terms towards each other. They would have, these very deep relationships with each other. But no, it's not that they were latent homosexuals. It's that men have done this through forever. They have close friends. They have close relationships with other men, but they are done in manly ways. And I don't mean manly like, oh yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger, manly, look at my big muscles. I mean in masculine ways. And there's become a fundamental lack of recognition for what the masculine displaying of emotion and masculine representation of emotion and masculine experience of emotion is. It has become completely feminized, where that is the only acceptable emotional um, emotional demonstration. It's now the only acceptable emotional demonstration, and I think it shows a complete and fundamental misunderstanding of what it means to be a male and have emotions as a male has emotions.